Hi, Jim. That's not good. Jim, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Hold on. I'm on a uh, I'm on a laptop at a remote location, and I have to figure out why it's not coming through my speakers.
Somewhere deep in the wilderness, right?
Yep.
In a secured bunker.
There we go. Okay, now I can hear you. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right, very good. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Not sure why telemarketers choose to call right when you're about to get onto a conference call, but Well, it looks like it's just going to be you, me, and John Slagboom on this call.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, never mind. There's
John Herring.
John. Yeah, there's John as well. All right. Well. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Southern California Leader Roundtable, October 2017. Not sure. Is there anybody that just dialed in via phone and not on the via the web app? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, let's go ahead and let's get started. Actually, can I get Jim? Can I get you to offer some prayer, please?
Sure.
Thanks.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for these leaders who have joined us tonight, that we may learn from each other to pass this knowledge on to the young men who will become leaders in the future. We pray for your heavenly guidance and all that we discussed tonight, that your will be done. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, and your patriotic quote for the day is from Benjamin Rush, one of our founding fathers and signer of the Declaration of Independence. The only means of establishing and perpetuating our republican forms of government is the universal education of our youth and the principles of Christianity by means of the Bible. Okay, welcome everybody that's joining in. Looks like we've got a few people that are still popping in. I will move forward. We are going to change up the format a little bit of the program. Normally, we spit out a bunch of announcements and area events coming up and whatnot, but this is supposed to be a training event primarily. So we're going to do some real brief introductions, and then we're going to move right into the training with Jim and myself. So real quick, why don't let's see, I'm seeing Jessica Rivera. Jessica, why don't you unmute your mic and introduce yourself? Let us know where you're from. Jessica, are you there? How about Matt? Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry, my service is not very great. Farah, and I'm from Oxnard.
Troop 281. What are you? Just a parent, or do you hold a leadership position in Oxnard?
Yes, parent.
Oh, all right, welcome. Very cool. Glad you were able to join us. Matt, are you on? You want to jump on and introduce yourself real quick? All right. Oh, there he is. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Josh. How are you?
Good. We have a new parent on the phone. Why don't you quickly introduce yourself and what your position is?
Yeah, Matt Costantino, Troop Hope 4673. I'm the Ranger.
Cool. Welcome.
Yep,
all right.
thanks.
Well, very cool. So I'm going to move right into this and into the introductions here for the area team. John Herring, who is our acting point man, he is actually the regional team lead up in somewhere in the middle of Washington, I think. He's stepping in as point man in I think three different areas. So he is acting. We are looking for a replacement for him, but there's his contact info. Mike Hickenbotham, who I'm not seeing on this call, is our area advancement chairman. His primary responsibility is handling the Freedom Awards and putting together the board of reviews and overseeing the Freedom Award process for our very senior adventure trailmen. We do not have an area chaplain. Teresa Waning is our area chartering organization coach. She's there to be a resource for the charter orgs. We do not have a new troop organizer yet, so that position is still open. And then as far as your training and support staff, here are the direct support advisors, or sometimes called direct service advisors, for the different areas. Mike Hickenbotham and I share the Channel Islands district because I'm out of Camarillo and he is out of Oxnard. Jim Martin is our Beaches and Orange County District DSA. We are still looking for one for Los Angeles and Inland Empire. And then Jerry Kwasik. Hi, Jerry. I see you on there. Jerry is our direct support advisor for the South Coast, which is points south by San Diego and out towards well, I always forget what it's called. What is it? The desert out in the middle of nowhere, going east of San Diego.
Yuma.
Yuma. There you go. All right, very cool.
That's a good name for it.
All right. Moving. I mean, that's really. I really wanted to get past the introductions and move forward. If you missed any of that information, you'd like somebody's contact info, you want to send them a mean email and yell at them, please let me know and we can get you that information. But let's go ahead and let's move directly into the training. We're going to start first with Jim, and Jim is going to go over some of the principles of the specific leadership positions that are available to our senior trailmen, and then I'm going to pick up with a quick discussion on the patrol method, what it means, and how to use it. So, Jim, leading the way.
All right. Tonight I'm going to talk about some of our adventure leadership positions. These are just a few leadership positions. As your troop grows, you can add leadership positions to it, depending on how in depth you want to get and how big your adventures go. So, but probably the first and main position that you want to fill is your first officer position. How do we decide which of our many adventurers to have fill the first officer position? Well, primarily we hold troop elections. That's the main way that we want to recruit our first officer and hold these elections. So if we have a bunch of adventurers and we have a couple of them that want to take on the first officer position, then we hold a troop election, have everybody vote for him, and the winner becomes our elected first officer. Some smaller troops like mine, I don't have adventurers yet, but I have a lot of mountain lions this year, and I have about 5 or 6 woodlands that are going to take a couple of years to get to the position of the adventurers. So I've started putting together this program for the future for our troop, and I'll just pass along the information. I have written some job descriptions for each of the leadership positions, and basically what you want to do is you want to interview your potential candidates, make sure that they know what they're up against. So you hand them a leadership position description to make sure that they are aware of what the position is going to hold for
Jim,
them.
Hey, Jim, just a quick interjection. I did put those job descriptions into the slides, so if you want to go through them through the positions, I do have those slides prepared.
Okay, well, let's go to the first officer then, so they can see how this whole system works. So as you can see, the first officer is what would be my program. You can alter this to fit your program, and I have all these forms in Word format, so you can go in and edit them and write your own too. So this isn't set in stone. You modify it to fit your troop. So the first officer is elected by the members of the troop. Now he could serve for 6 months, or you can say, well, we want him to serve for a year. It just depends on your program, but I chose 6 months to give. If I have a big a lot of adventures, I want to do it every every 6 months to give everybody a chance to at least experience this leadership position. The first officer reports to the troop master and the advisor. The first officer is elected by the trailmen to represent them as a top junior leader in the troop. Some troops may want to select their first officer. It's such an important position that they want to make sure that, at least in the beginning, that they're comfortable with the person in that position rather than leaving it up to the troop. But the way it's supposed to work is the first officer is supposed to be elected by the troop, and so the troop either wins by that or suffers the consequences of that selection. The first officer is the highest ranking youth in the troop. He's also a patrol leader by virtue of his position. So if there's not enough patrol leaders available, then he's got to step in and handle that position as well. He chairs the monthly officers conference. So an officers conference should be held like once a month, and that's where you get all your patrol leaders together and all your adventure position trailmen together and have a meeting. That way all the top leadership of the trailmen know what's happening in the lower levels and can jump in and help as needed, and just gets everybody on the same page. So he's a high-profile member, so he's doing a lot of upfront work, where usually you see the troop master. Once you get a first officer, he takes over that position, the upfront, the face of the troop position. So he runs all your beginning parts of the meeting. He'll run the flags, the oath, the motto, all that in the beginning. He works under the supervision of an advisor, and the advisor and the troop master kind of work with him and lead him along and guide him and train him as he goes through his journey as a first officer. Certain qualifications. There's no real age because it's open to the adventurers, so any adventurer level. I stated that I want him to be at least a journey award or higher. If you've had the program going for a while, it'd be great if he was a second officer or at least a patrol leader. And he should be a regular tender, 75% of the meetings at least. Next slide. Performance requirements. I've stated that I want all my first officers and all my adventure top leadership to at least attend equip training. When that gives them the experience and the training to run patrol by the troop. So high attendance expectancy because he's running the troop. He's running the patrol leaders councils. He's the head guy at all outings and at service projects. Now, he may not be actually physically doing those. He may be supervising them. That's part of learning leadership, is supervising people during those events. So I've had consequences. I've added consequences for not being a regular attender. General responsibilities, we want to see them in their Class A uniforms at all times, properly worn. All parts of the uniform tucked in, nice and neat. No badges on their standards and looking good. That sets the example for all the other trailmen in the troop. Again, he's setting the example for everybody and show trailman spirit. Being active, being on time, or early, and call in so somebody can take over his duties, like the second officer if he can't make it. Okay, next slide. So here's some specific leadership responses. You could add to these, or rearrange them, or do whatever you want. So he's going to be in charge of running all the meetings, all your events, all your activities, and he's going to run an annual program planning conference where they decide their calendar for the year. Runs each monthly patrol leaders council meeting. He appoints other top junior leaders with advice and counsel of the troop master or the advisor. So his is the top elected position. Some troops may want to elect all their patrol leaders in their patrols, and then but as the first officer, he's going to select his second officer. He's going to select any of his quartermaster, second officer, first officer. Those are your top positions in the troop. And then beyond that, he could assign whatever the troop thinks that they need. They may want to select someone who's a scribe. That scribe is kind of the secretary of the troop and takes notes, and especially at the patrol leaders council meeting. He assists the troop master with junior leader training. Junior leader training is the top adventurers training younger navigators in learning their positions within the patrols. So ideally, that's the way that goes. Second officers, of course, needs to know pretty much all the responsibilities of the first officer, and so he can step in and take over the first officer position if the first officer can't make a meeting, conference, or an outing, or service project, or whatever. He needs to be able to learn all that, step into that position. That's why it's good to have the second officer as maybe one of the requirements being the first officer, because then he could step right into that leadership position and take off running with it. So pretty much it's all the basic same as the first officer. The second officer.
Jim, question?
Yeah.
So this is John. I know you may have said this, I may have missed it, but how do you feel about troops that you've seen that elect the second officer, and then after 6 months he automatically then steps up to be the first officer? You like that idea?
Yeah, I mean, elections are good experiences for trailmen, or they could be frustrating experiences. I
guess I meant more the idea of the second officer then kind of as an understudy and is practicing before he then steps up to be the first officer.
Yeah.
You've seen that work pretty well?
I've seen it done that way where the my main experience is with scout troops, and I've seen it where the assistant senior patrol leader is the elected one, and then steps into the first officer position.
That's what we're really talking about here.
Yeah, where that becomes problematic from what I've seen in the past is that the same people get elected for the same positions every single time. So they're, and that, especially if they need these leadership positions for advancement, if people get elected for the same time over and over again, then people don't get a chance to experience that. So that's the only drawback I've seen with elections. But we're to the point where that's, I don't think that'll happen in trail life though. So I hope it doesn't. But that is the ideal way to do it, is through elections, whether you elect the second officer or the first officer, or maybe you elect them both to begin with. then the second officer steps into the first officer position after his period's over, whether that's 6 months or a year. Like I said, I haven't actually experienced that myself yet. I don't have any adventures, so my experience is with the Boy Scout troops on a lot of this stuff. And a lot of this information that I have here was kind of set up through that program too. So this works pretty good, but again, it can be altered or changed to fit your specific troop. So that's the second officer position. You know, he's learning everything the first officer is. Again, he's going to be under the troop master and the advisor. So those two positions got a pretty heavy duty job because they have to be training these two young men in leadership responsibilities, and that's where equip comes in too. The training there will help them a lot, go a long way into learning these things. One of the responsibilities of the second officer is to, start working with those positions under the scribe, the quartermasters. Each patrol in like the woodlands, if you had a really big woodlands, or not woodlands, I'm sorry, navigators program, you could assign or they could select these type of positions to run your navigators patrols too. If you had 2 or 3 navigators patrols with a good patrol leader, then each member of the patrol could undertake one of these various areas to serve and start learning leadership. Okay, quartermaster position. The quartermaster's responsibilities are mainly equipment. If you have a big troop, let's say you have a troop trailer, and you have all the equipment that goes in it, you have all of your camping equipment, tents and everything, his responsibility is to take charge of that, know what equipment they have, check it in, check it out, make sure that he monitors the wear and tear on the equipment so that when it comes time to replace the equipment or fix the equipment, he can get together with someone in the troop who's experienced in that and learn how to either fix the equipment or what it takes to replace that equipment when it's worn out. It's important to the whole troop because that troop relies on that equipment for every outing. So he's going to attend all the officers' conferences, monthly conferences, give reports on the equipment, recommendations for purchasing new equipment. He's selected by the first officer. So the first officer will select his quartermaster, and he's going to report to the first officer. Again, I want all my top leadership to attend equip, have regular attendance, of course wearing their uniforms, behavior and attendance. So he keeps records on patrol and troop equipment, make sure that equipment is good working condition, issues equipment, and make sure it's returned in good condition. Suggests replacement items and works with the troop committee for equipment. Patrol flags, meetings, and all the equipment for the meeting help set it up.
Okay. You all right, Jim?
Yeah, I'll have to get some water here in a minute. Okay. So those are the top main three positions. Okay. Patrol leaders. The adventure patrol leader's basic responsibilities is to work with the various patrols. He runs his patrol. He could have 2 or 3 different patrols. So he runs, you could have a senior patrol leader who runs, works with all the junior patrol leaders, or you could have just get together with 1 patrol leader per patrol. Now that could be either navigators or adventurers, depending on the size of your troop. So these patrol leaders are working directly with the individual trailmen, and they work on running the patrol. All the things that need to be done in a patrol. We like to see them elected to their positions. So that's the second or third area of elected positions. They should be elected by their patrols. So the patrol, let's say you have 6 or 7 members in a patrol, get together, they find out who wants to be the patrol leader. They elect the position as patrol leader. I put in some basic requirements: equip again, attendance, uniform behavior, and attendance. Helps the first officer plan and steer patrol meetings. Helps the first officer keep patrol members informed. Helps the patrol get ready for all troop activities. What does that mean? That means maybe if they're going on a camp out, they generate their own menus and shopping lists and get the patrol together to do their shopping list for food at an outing, and out their equipment for the quartermaster, that sort of thing. He's the only one that goes to the Patrol Leaders Council meeting. That keeps the Patrol Council, the monthly PLC Patrol Leaders Council meetings with just the members who are needing to translate the information between the various levels of the navigator and adventure patrols. Controls the patrol and building patrol spirit. The various methods to do that, songs and cheers and flags and symbols and that sort of thing. So they can start building patrol spirit and work as a team building. Okay. Junior patrol leaders are in the navigators. Pretty much the same thing as the adventure patrol leader. So next slide. Again, we want it elected. Term about 6 months. 6 months is pretty good. That way you can start rotating the patrol leaders through the patrol, give each one an opportunity to lead. Reports to the patrol guide and the first officer. The junior patrol leader runs his patrol, just as the adventure patrol leader would run his. This just gives them experience in leadership as they go through and get ready to get into the adventure level leadership positions, which take on a little bit more responsibility. Patrol leaders are members of the officers conference, so that they're going to be there every month to report to the officers conference on what's going on within their respective patrols. That would be if you have a troop with like a couple, 2 or 3, different patrols within the navigator unit. I'm not quite there yet, but if all my mountain lions come up to the navigators, we will be, because I have probably, I think I got 10 or 12 mountain lions and 6 navigators, so I'll have 16 in the navigator patrol next year probably. And probably only 1 or 2 of those will bump up to adventurers, so I'm still a little ways away from this yet. Again, equip training. We want training. Attendance. And what we're just looking for is for them to give their best effort in this. It's hard for some of these guys at this level to be expected to rise up to the perfect leadership position. It's all learning at this point and all experience gathering, and through the guidance of the adults down at that level, they'll start seeing the real aspects of leadership, what it takes to be a leader. We want them wearing a uniform. Class A. I require all my navigators adventures to be in Class A. They'd have to know the oath and motto and live it. Again, we want them to be actively attending, be on time. That's a big thing, to try and get them to be there on time to all their meetings. So you can see that that at this level the responsibilities are not as high expectation as those who are older and have the maturity level, but there still is responsibility there. They're helping plan the patrol meetings and activities. They're communicating with the members of their patrol. That means that if there's an outing coming up, they're making sure everybody's knows what they're supposed to do, where they're supposed to be, and monitors those. Again, represents his patrol at the leader conferences, and lends out controlling patrol and building patrol spirit. Again, same as above, different methods of generating that patrol spirit. I think that's it. That's the last one, Josh?
Yeah, I think so. Let me see here. Yep. Yeah, that's it.
Now I have other ones that could be thrown in there, like a trainer position, someone responsible for training patrol members, a historian, someone who's maybe likes to take pictures and do scrapbooks and stuff like that for the Court of Honor. It could be a troop historian, the scribe, maybe a librarian, someone who can develop materials to aid in training and all, anything that the troop generates that could help other troop members. Probably one of the best positions to have between navigators and adventurers is a chaplain aide. A chaplain aide would be responsible at the navigator position, would be responsible for leading prayers, for learning scripture, and then in the adventure level, your chaplain's aide would work closely with your troop chaplain on developing programs for the troop. So that would be an important position to add to all this. That's about it. Any questions?
Yeah, Jim, this is Jerry Kwasik.
Hey, Jerry.
Hey, you know, one of the things we used to have years ago in scouting was a patrol leader's handbook. We also we used to have forms that the patrol leaders would have an actually meeting agenda. They would fill in the blanks and follow. I'm wondering, does Trail Life have that kind of support material for patrol leaders?
I haven't seen it. I don't know.
This is John. This is
Josh,
John. This is one of the things that we actually provide as a handout. When you go through Equip for Adults, we talk about meeting plans, and we try to provide a skeleton that then you can take back to your troop and actually provide them.
That would be good to bring those, you know, because patrol leaders need that kind of outline material to fill in the blanks and be prepared for meetings, and I think that'd be a good idea.
Well, I can certainly upload it to the server, to the Facebook file section. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll basically just throw it out there as a resource people can use.
Great.
Cool. Any other questions about navigator or adventure leadership positions?
Can we clarify one thing? When Jim, when you're talking about equip, what you're really talking about is equip youth, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. For those folks that don't know what that is the youth leader training program. It's a full day session, and basically it's seven segments that you go through, that the guys go through, and I like to call it a day-long set of games because it's really just a lot of fun. But you learn something. They learn something while they're doing it. Jim was one of the people that actually pioneered putting together the Equip Youth for the national program.
It is fun, and they do learn a lot.
We'll actually
Fun.
we'll actually be talking about Equip Youth here in a little bit because we do have one scheduled for Southern California. So that's
Great.
a little bit later in the slideshow. So
Okay,
all right,
good.
very cool. Guys, I got a lot to go through here on the patrol method. So I'm gonna talk kind of fast. If you have any questions, please feel free to jump in and ask away. I am hearing a little bit of background noise, so if anybody is maybe can mute their phones, that'd probably be helpful. Just and then unmute it if you got a question. So, all right. So the patrol method. What is the patrol method? So a patrol is a small group of trailmen within a troop, and this is going to be specifically for navigators and adventurers. We do have patrols in the woodland trail units as well. However, they don't really operate so much as traditional patrols in the traditional scouting sense. So patrol method, specifically what I'm going to be referring to tonight, is definitely leaning towards the navigators or the adventurers. So patrol is a small group of trailmen within a troop. They elect a patrol leader, and they function almost like a family within a troop. They divide up the chores to be done and work together as a group to meet their goals. They develop patrol spirit, and they take pride in their accomplishments as a team. Ultimately, the patrol method is one of 9 methods that we have to deliver the program of trail life. There's advancements, there's uniform, there's values, obviously the Christian values we want to put in, but the patrol method is one of the key methods that we use to deliver the program. So what is not the patrol method? Does anybody have an idea of what is not the patrol method? Anybody?
Yeah, the scout leader runs the program.
The patrol method, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Anybody else?
The adults plan all the campouts.
Yeah. Ultimately, the point I wanted to get across is the patrol method is not a way to carve up a large troop into smaller administrative units for ease of management. And the troop just exists for the administrative convenience of the patrols that make up the troop, not the reverse. Patrol members interact in a small group outside of the larger troop context. They work together as a team, and they share the responsibilities of making that patrol a success. The troop is the league for the patrol's teams, to use a sporting analogy. But we really need to, and this was a problem I saw in BSA, and as well as I've seen it a little bit in trail life as well. We need to get out of the concept of thinking that the troop is the end-all be-all, and while we certainly charter our troops through Trail Life USA, which gives us the idea that the troop is the central unit here. It's really all about the patrols and the individual patrols and what they do within the program. That's important to what we do. This is a quote that's often misattributed to Robert Baden-Powell, the founder of Scouting. It was actually Roland Phillips, who was an early Scout leader in the UK. I believe he died in World War I. But the patrol system is not one method in which scouting for boys can be carried on. It is the only method. If you're not using the patrol system or the patrol method in your troop, you're not doing it the right way. It's really the only method that you have to do this thing. So if you get into a situation where, like Jerry or John said, where the adults are running things and whatnot, you really need to really revisit your game plan there and start using the patrol method for your program. So there are two tools that we have as adult leaders to drive character development: the example of role models and the interaction with peers. Being told how they ought to act or having good conduct modeled for them is only the first step. The real work happens when trailmen develop mutual respect for each other and foster cooperation within a group of equals. This cooperation is where the really radical idea of the scouting movement, a self-government through the patrol method, takes place. When trailmen make their own plans, formulate their own rules, keep up their own discipline, elect their own leadership charged with implementing these plans, they have the opportunity to learn through experience what it means to belong to a group and to accept personal responsibility. Within the troop and patrol, trailmen act on the notion of reciprocity. Cooperation, with all its troubles and triumphs, enables each trailman to discover more about themselves and integrate the concepts of the oath and the motto into their own character. When we have real self-government, the trail life oath is no longer just a bunch of concepts preached by adults. They find meaning in the life of the patrol and the troop. Individual responsibilities become group responsibilities. Robert Baden-Powell understood that role models actually have a limited influence on boys, believe it or not, that character really develops through small group interactions. That's why he was so adamant about the patrol system, and he said the scoutmaster has to be neither schoolmaster nor commanding officer nor pastor nor instructor, and all that is needed is the capacity to enjoy the out-of-doors, to enter into the boy's ambitions, to put himself on the level of the older brother, that is, to see things from the boy's point of view, and to lead and guide and give enthusiasm in the right direction. If we limited character development to role models, the trailmen would become increasingly dependent on them. We want to foster cooperative independence through the patrol method. Baden-Powell said, the patrol is the character school for the individual. The central importance of the patrol system prioritizes everything else about trail life. It's a little jarring at first. We think the content of our meetings and our camping trips are all important, but they're really just decorative. We think that the metrics of attendance and membership, fundraising, advancement, whatever, is important, but they're merely indicators. Instead of spending our time on the decorations and indicators, we have to concentrate on the real heart of the matter, which is the patrol method. If we build the patrol method, the program features and the metrics all follow. So, our role in the patrol method. I want you guys to imagine right now a bus tour of some, important city. You're seated in the air-conditioned comfort of a motor coach. We listen to the guide explain each landmark in detail so we don't miss anything. The guide sticks to the script. We sit behind the tinted windows of our bus, dutifully turning our heads to the left and to the right. There's so much explaining, there's not much time left for questions, and then soon the tour is over. Contrast the bus tour with a hike led by a knowledgeable guide. There you go. He takes up the rear, letting our group lead and find the trail. When the path branches, he'll tell us which way to go if we can't figure it out on our own. He doesn't mind if we stop now and then to admire a flower or to take in the view. He'll happily tell you what you're looking at if you ask. Our guide will volunteer little information. He'll drop a hint here and there, and he'll answer some questions. We may miss some sights along the way or pass by other interesting things, but our group will get much more out of what we've discovered on the hike and asked about than the things that the guide told us about. Guiding trailmen using the patrol method is much more like the hike than the bus tour. A gentle push in the right direction, then dragging them along. A suggestion more rather than a command. A question asked rather than an answer given. The adult role in the patrol method is more responsive than directive. Each group of trailmen is different, so how we play our role is a response to their development, group dynamics, and abilities. There's a difference between guiding and coercing. If we follow the metaphor of our group of hikers there, they have some idea where they want to go, and the guide is responsible to is responding to them rather than determining the interests of the group. We ought to respond to the interests of our trailmen rather than determining what they should be interested in. The field of play is the Trail Life program, and we guide them within that context. We train them to follow the program. Our role in Trail Life is important, but this is some of you guys have seen this before. This is the sample troop leader organization chart. So our role is important, but we really aren't even in the leadership structure when it comes to the navigators and the adventurers. Trailmen form their own patrols. They elect their first officer, like Jim said, and the patrol leaders. We don't appoint them. We respond to the choices made by the trailmen, and we start guiding the leaders. This is really what it should look like. That yellow block right there, I mean, that's and this is actually my patrol here. That's where the leadership is at. We're at the bottom. The troop master's down at the bottom. The trail master's over on the left, and the advisor's over on the right. The meat and the leadership of the troop is with those patrol leaders and the first and second officer. Recall, we're not focused on decorations and indicators. Those all come later. We think that the content of meetings and camping trips are all important, but they're just decorative. We think metrics of attendance and membership and fundraising and advancement are important, but they're just indicators. There are troops where the patrol method is watered down to an administrative nicety, a way to divide trailmen into these more manageable groups and provide figurative leadership positions for trailmen. When we put the patrol method into practice, things change pretty dramatically. But since people are usually resistant to change, there are some objections. And I'm sure, who's heard this one before? If they're given the choice, trailmen will not form balanced patrols. Anybody heard that? Anybody?
Yes, this is Mike. I've certainly heard that.
So an ideal patrol has around 8 trailmen, but there's really no rule that says a patrol can't be 5 or 12. It really just depends on how the trailmen want to set it up. If a trailman isn't in a patrol with his friends, he's going to find a way to be with his friends. He'll gravitate towards them during meetings and outings anyways. A balanced, quote-unquote, patrol is just another administrative decoration that seems to matter a lot to us adults. Trailmen are not at all interested in a balanced patrol, as they are in patrols that just work for them. All right? So who's heard this one? If you don't have a say, trailmen won't elect qualified leaders. Anybody heard that one before? Jerry?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Their choice is their choice. It's our job to work with their choices. If they choose someone we think is unqualified, it's up to the patrol leader council or officer cabinet or whatever you call it, and the troop master, trail master, or advisor to get them up to speed. That's our job, is to work with the adult leaders. So if we're just going to immediately cut them off and say, well, they're not going to elect qualified leaders, that's our job, is to build qualified leaders and working with the officer cabinet to build those qualified leaders. How about this one? Who's heard this one? Without our direct oversight, trailmen will not do their jobs. Jim, have you heard that one?
I think I've heard them all.
Trailmen are going to do their job as they understand it, and our work is helping them to understand. If adults are clearly in control, regardless of what trailmen do, or adults will do the work for them, trailmen won't do much. When adults leave trailmen alone and let them get things done, when adults stop interfering, fixing, and taking over, trailmen will make things happen. All right. How about this one? Trailmen don't plan as well or present things as well as adults, so our program will suffer. If your goal is a quality program of activities and earning badges, then go ahead, put the adults in charge. They're going to do a much better job. Naturally, adults end up leading much better rather than the trailmen, and you'll get a good program and lots of advancement. But our goal is not the decorative quality of the program or the number of badges we present. It's in providing the opportunity for trailmen to learn about planning and presenting things and to derive all the other benefits of the patrol system. Our vision isn't building something for our trailmen. It's providing them the environment to grow into solid men of God. Every parent has some treasured object like a drawing or a lopsided clay statue created by their kid. It will never be written about by art critics or displayed in a national museum, but a parent thinks it's this priceless work of art. I got a whole cabinet full of them at home. We ought to use this perspective when we view what the trailmen do. Comparing their meeting program or plans to some idealized program or plan made by the adults is like holding the artwork our child gave up to the Mona Lisa. It's not, I mean, it doesn't compare. But if we value a trailman's effort above our own, we'll begin to see the true value of the patrol system at work. If we concentrate on making the patrol method a reality, our trailmen will get more than memorable trips and badges out of trail life. All right, what about this one? Anybody heard that one before? John, you've been Slagman, you've been quiet. Have you heard this one? Given the choice, trailmen will not do the things that result in advancement. John, you fall asleep? Are you there?
I don't think he's on.
Oh, there
I'm
it is.
here. I was on mute. Actually, I'm sitting here, thinking about, the polarization. A good program has everything going on. Of course, my experience is that the patrol method is the hardest thing. It's usually the thing that suffers most. And I was in a very, very strong troop, Boy Scout troop, very big, very strong. And, we had the pendulum swing between the adults leading too much. And sometimes the patrol, the youth leading, if you could believe it, got potentially too strong. And what I mean by that in the sense of, this is also about the parents have certain expectations as well for a certain amount of content to be communicated through a program, content of the advancement in terms of skills and things like that. Truly, the patrol method is dominant. If you don't have that, you really don't have anything. But again, the whole balance. But I understand what you're doing, Josh. I mean, 90% of the times it's the patrol that's suffering because the adults are too strongly in charge. So I don't want to take away from that.
Yeah, I mean, that's you're going to hear that, especially from a parent saying, "Hey, my kid's not advancing." Trailmen are going to advance when they do, and they're going to advance naturally when they do the things that just trailmen normally do. Your PLC or officer cabinet is focused on doing what trailmen do, so that trailmen will advance. They may advance a little slower or a little faster than they do now, but advancement's just one indicator of success. I think most of us kind of understand that. We need to value the other indicators of success at least equally. Did the trailmen plan and present their own meeting? Did they plan and carry out their own camping trip? Have they grown more competent and skilled as leaders? And are they gaining an appreciation for responsibility? Those are all just as important as did they get their camping trail badge or their aquatics trail badge. All right. Our older trailmen don't want to work with the younger trailmen. I know John and I actually just saw this with we had a couple of older potentials that dropped by our troop, and we got the feeling that they just didn't feel like babysitting is ultimately what it came down to. Football players, I'm pretty sure, aren't particularly fond of wind sprints and drills, but eventually they begin to see the value of them. Older trailmen aren't always excited about leading and instructing young trailmen, but they reap the same benefits of service that we adults experience. This one, you're going to get it, but it's really kind of a non-starter for me. I don't know if anybody else has seen this before, but older trailmen, this is part of the service that they have to the troop is bringing up the next generation of trailmen behind them. So, okay,
Josh. A lot of these things that you brought up here, I agree with every one of them. And I've heard almost all of them. But what I found out is that the kids actually take care of most of this themselves. Kids don't mind helping. They just don't. The kids don't mind. The older boys don't mind helping the younger men. They don't want to do it all the time though. So
yeah,
that's true. Yeah, absolutely.
They're actually pretty excited about getting to teach the younger men and to sort of if you got kids that are mouthing off and stuff like that, they like to be able to go in and say, whoa, that's not what we do here. All that stuff sort of takes care of itself, just not all the time. And
I think it's also the difference between them getting a chance to versus them being told that they must. And that's, I think, oftentimes the difference in the truth is if they're told you must go out and go teach these navigators how to tie knots or whatever that thing is, is different than, hey, these guys are really having trouble here. Can you help them out?
Yeah.
Same outcome, but what a different way of approaching it.
Yeah, and most of these objections, I think probably you've seen the theme. You're probably not hearing a lot of these objections from the kids themselves. These are coming from most of the objections I've seen to the true running of the patrol method come from the parents and the adults. So,
Amen.
yeah, absolutely. This is definitely adult centric is here because, ultimately as adults and adult leaders, we're the ones that have to make sure that this is actually happening and it's actually being run the correct way. And it's very, very easy for us to drift into something much more comfortable because it is much more comfortable for the adults to just step in and say, we'll take care of it. We're quickly running out of time, so I'm gonna race through this next one. But this is the biggest one here. We aren't comfortable with giving trailmen this much power. This, I think, is probably in a nutshell what it comes down to. It's probably a control issue with some of us adults. But take it back to the sports analogy. Are coaches afraid to give their players too much power? When a team takes the basketball court, the coach stays on the sidelines while the players play the game. The coach isn't worried that the players are going to start playing soccer or lacrosse on the basketball court because he's taking the time to train the players in the rules and skills of the game. We guide our trailmen to lead them in the context of trail life. There are rules and goals to the game that we help them learn and understand. The rules are the trail life oath, obviously the Christian character we expect of them. The goals are forming contributing members of our community and solid men of God. All right, so real quick, some final thoughts. If this is ringing at all a bell to you and your troop, my first thought is redraw your organization chart. Put the trailmen at the top of your organization chart. Flip it upside down and put the adults at the bottom. This program is about them, and they should be at the very, very top of your organization chart. Okay, that's my final thought, number one. Number two, trailmen form their own patrols and choose their own leaders. If a trailman isn't in a patrol with his friends, I said this before, he's not going to observe the structure of the patrol. He's going to gravitate to his friends anyways. Patrol leaders are chasing trailmen out of the wrong patrol or searching for their lost sheep all the time. Uniformed, balanced patrols make sense from an adult point of view, but what we want is a patrol that best serves the trailmen. Patrol leader elections can happen anytime the patrol decides. I know 6 months, that's what we do, but quite honestly, it can happen anytime the patrol decides. They want a new leader, have them do an election. Tenure towards a position of responsibility and rank requirements has driven the interval of leadership elections in most troops, but it's really putting the cart before the horse. Most of us are going to feel a little queasy when we start thinking of patrols as more fluid than fixed. I think if we take a good look at the way our fixed patrols function, we'd have to admit that they're more fluid in practice than we think. The patrol member whose best friend is in another patrol, he'll wander over to that patrol. When less than 4 or 5 patrol members show up for a camping trip or meeting, they get folded into another patrol. If we would just stop interfering with the trailman's choices, we may find that we've sacrificed our ideal picture for one that actually achieves the goals of trail life. Number 3, be patrol-centric. Schedule patrol meetings in lieu of troop meetings at least once a month. There's no troop meeting that night, just patrol meetings planned and presented by the patrol leaders. They're held at the same time and place as troop meetings. I've actually found that this is a way to allow patrols to function independently without adding any additional logistical hurdles of patrol leaders finding another place or time to meet. When camping patrols work independently in their own campsite with no adults around, the adults are close enough to observe, yet far enough away that they can't easily interfere. Every outing and event is based on the interest of the patrols working together rather than a crowd of trailmen functioning as a troop. Patrols camp together, cook and eat together, hike together, and troop assemblies should be minimal. Keep your distance. Youth leaders will not lead much if an adult is in the area. You have more influence on this than you think. Of course, we lead and present and organize better than a trailman, but when you do, you've taken the opportunity away from them. What does this look like? You're far enough away to observe, but not close enough to be heard unless you raise your voice. This makes us all very uncomfortable. How will trailmen know what to do? What if they behave poorly or get hurt? Aren't I supposed to be teaching them things and telling them what to do? To our minds, they're either awful young to have that kind of responsibility or just old enough to make real trouble if we don't keep an eye on them. I can't tell you right here and now in the 2 or 3 minutes that we have left, step by step, how you're going to do this. I can tell you that it's possible, and if you make it your goal, you'll get there and won't feel so uncomfortable when you do. And then last, rethink, retool, and rebuild. I know I've had to kill some of my sacred cows because they were getting in the way. Am I allowed to say that in a Christian organization, sacred cows? I've had to get rid of them because they were getting in ways of actually reaching and benefiting the boys. Nice, neat organizational administration, controlling the variables and focusing on the indicators rather than the drivers were getting the job done, but it wasn't fully achieving the goal of forming a resilient, skilled, responsible character in my trailmen. When I accepted that the patrol method drives advancement, membership, and attendance, I started focusing more on patrols. When I started focusing on patrols, I found myself focusing more and more on trailmen instead of the metrics of what they do. I also began to understand the sense behind all the policies and procedures we are trusted to follow. Patrols are not intended to break a troop up into more manageable segments to make the adult leader's job easier. Patrols are the central unit of trail life, and troops are just containers for patrols. Patrols are the character school where trailmen lead, instruct, and guide each other, and that's where the real work happens. All right. Final thoughts. Anybody have anything before we go into our quick announcements before we run completely out of time? Oh,
Gosh,
we already did.
Yeah, I didn't hear you say that word. So the one thing that I think is also important is there's a real fear of failure with the adults. Instead of letting the kids learn from the failures, just like the adults learn from their failures. You know, that you need to really let that happen and celebrate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, failure is part of life. It's actually in many times a much greater character school than success is. So yeah, good word.
Josh, I have one thing to add.
Yeah.
This is Tom from Hermosa Beach.
Yep.
Hey, before I became the troop master, we had our previous troop master was also our BSA troop master. He had such rigid standards for the patrol method that we actually chased some of our older boys away because he demanded such effort from them to run the patrol method that it did not work. And I'm a little leery of putting that much pressure on our boys because I've seen the wrong end of this thing.
So can you give me some examples?
Yeah, he put such a high demand on our senior patrol leader, who became our first officer, to run the meetings and to have everything organized and get all this, that it was taking him 2 or 3 hours to get ready for the meeting, and his schoolwork was slipping, and he stepped out. He just had enough, and that was it. And it was very unfortunate because he was a very good youth and a very good a good scout.
Well, how are the patrol members doing? Because we're more interested in the patrols and the patrol leaders. So how are the patrol leaders doing under that rigid model?
Well, I don't know if this is good to we lost a lot of our scouts that were I would say, probably star and above, star and life scouts. We lost all of them. We had a pretty large BSA troop at that point. We probably had about 15 boys in our BSA troop, and we lost all but 3.
Oh wow!
So it was a tough situation with the rigid demands. It was tough, and we're still recovering from that now. We're just now getting back to where we can run the patrol method
Tom,
in our troop.
I'm gonna chime in and say I've seen troops that were of exactly that sort, 50, 60, 70 young men that the senior patrol leader and his patrol leaders were put in charge, and the scoutmaster stepped back, and they ran great. So I would argue it may not have been the patrol method as much as it may have been the scoutmaster that caused that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if you have
Absolutely.
a team patrol leader taking 2 or 3 hours to plan the meeting, his
That's
problem
true.
is he has to learn to delegate.
Right.
That's exactly the problem. I could just diagnose that one right there because I've seen it, and that's where the scoutmaster, the troop master has to coach him. Okay, why is it taking you too long? Because it's taking me too long to do these things. Well, you got people that can help you. Why don't you let them do that?
Right.
So, yeah. Probably a good topic to have another evening because this is certainly good. I think it's a good discussion.
Yeah, very cool.
Oh, we're out of time.
We are. Yeah, we are over time. I'm gonna run through these real fast. Many of you guys have seen these. We do need some additional DSAs. We do need a permanent point man still in the area. John is quickly transitioning out of even acting as the acting troop man. So we really need to get some.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, I have about a month. You have me for about a month, and probably by the end of November, I must have a new point man for Southern California.
Yeah.
You'll not have a choice by that point. So, and then what happens if we don't have a point man? Then a lot of functions right now aren't going to get done anymore, including advancements, including signing off on freedom awards. Even with Mike there, you got to have a point man.
Yeah. So
this is important. We have to nominate somebody, nominate them in private. I'll reach out to them, but we have to get this going.
There is training available for new leaders. Please pass this information along. A lot of this is delivered remotely via the internet, via GoToMeeting and whatnot. But there's basic training and there's more advanced training that's available. So please contact us, us DSAs, and we'll definitely plug you into where the appropriate level of training that's available. And then also this training that we're doing here today, second Tuesday of every month at 8:30 p.m. I always forget that. It says September is going to focus on Navigator Adventure. November, I believe, is going to be Woodland Trail. So that'll be Mike Hickenbotham on that one. So that's a mistake on that slide. Quickly, some upcoming events. We do have the Warrior Games coming up, President's Day weekend 2018 down in Camp Pendleton. There's Teresa Waining's contact information, San Diego Trail Life at gmail.com. Definitely start booking your campsites now because the campsite area will fill up. So you'll want to make sure that you contact Teresa and get more information on that. Patrol Rally is coming up, which is basically our version of Camporee, April 27th through the 29th for navigators, adventurers, as well as rising mountain lions, so 5th grade mountain lions. Pre-register your troop. You can go to that survey, or quite honestly, you can just contact me. We still are working out the cost, but most likely it's going to be pretty similar to last year's, $25 a person for the weekend rate, $18 for the Saturday rate. We're still working on that. We actually have a meeting tomorrow for that to hopefully we can finalize that. Youth Equip. This is now this is on. I just booked the campsite for this. It's going to be up here in Simi Valley. This course is designed to train navigators, adventure leaders, so your patrol leaders, your first officers, all the people we've been talking about tonight. The cost is going to be $30 a participant. The food is included in the cost, so you guys won't have to worry about that. So if your troop's interested, would like to help me organize, we certainly have a couple holes in our organization structure. And if you're coming up here with your kids anyways to bring them up, we'd love to have your help. So please just email me at my address there, JoshuaMichaelSanders@gmail.com. Western Regional Roundups coming up in Anchorage, Alaska in 2018. Great opportunity for your super adventure. I think Patrick Gardner, your boys are heading up there, or you're planning to head up there for your super adventure for your adventures.
Yeah, that's right, Joshua.
I saw the mic turn green, but I wasn't sure if you were there. All right. So cost to be determined, but be looking out for some information on that. And the National Co-Venture, I believe, is the new branded term for this. It's going to be 2019. This is going to be our version of Jamboree, so we're going to have troops from all over the United States descending on the North Carolina area, tentative. And there's going to be, not only is it going to be activities for the boys, but it's also going to be our national convention as well for adult leaders. So Appointment update. Is this? Did we eventually finally call this off, John? Trail Ready Learner Conference for Southern California.
I have gotten no volunteers stepping up ready to willing to run it. So yeah, I guess it's not going to happen.
Okay. I guess it's off. Okay, moving on.
2018. Yeah.
We do have a new Trail Life troop in Bakersfield. I don't know if Brandon Brummett was able to get on, but they're chartered out of Calvary Chapel, Bakersfield, troop 2819. So this is our current map. This is what it looks like. Yeah, well, it's cool. Trail Life in Southern California is growing, so awesome. We do have some new troop prospects in Vegas, Escondido, Vista, Corona, and Woodland Hills. So be praying about those, and if you're able to help, contact one of your DSAs. And that's pretty much it. Q&A time. Anybody have any last minute questions before we call it a night? No? Okay.
I would like us to close with a prayer for our Trail Life brothers and all the brothers and sisters up in Northern California. Troop California 101 got hit pretty hard. There's at least 4 families that got burned out in that troop. There's about 16 families, including the pastor of their sponsoring chartering organization, I think it's Spring Hills Community Church. The church is still standing, but the pastor lost his house. So yeah, they got hit pretty hard.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and close us out in prayer?
Okay, guys. Trailman honors God, so please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, thanks for the chance to be on tonight to talk amongst the leaders and to share ideas, share concepts, ask questions. Lord, thanks for these men and these women that basically are out there to evangelize this next generation of young men, to bring them and bring them up to be good husbands, good fathers, good Christian adults. Help us to be discerning as we go forward, as we go out to teach these young men. We ask you to be with the families up there in Northern California that are struggling in the wake of these fires. Keep them safe. Be with Trail Life families as they start to recover from their lives. Help us to be able to reach out to them and offer them our hands if we need them. We ask all these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for joining, and we look forward to seeing you guys next month.
Great meeting, guys. This was a good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.